forward.
Toronto Poetry Slam, come on! Please give your undivided attention to the poet getting on stage right this very moment.
So I don't have a stage name, just Sabrina. I go by Sabrina, but my full name is Sabrina Benet.
My stage name is Spin El Poeta.
My name is Estefania Alfonso Falcon, and I perform as Yes.
My name is Andre Prefontaine.
I mean, slam poetry to me it's definitely performance-based poetry. It's poetry that has to be engaging, captivating. It is a competitive genre. Like, you cannot have slam poetry without the competitive elements. Because the nature of slam poetry involves picking 5 judges randomly, there's no criteria, there's no accomplishments, there's no like masters in creative writing or whatever associated to it, which makes me love it more, you know, because I write from the heart. I don't really employ like literary devices or whatever, not consciously anyway.
She is getting real right now. All right, we have a 7.8. We have a 6.6. We have a 6.9. We have a 7.
I stumbled upon it when I was living in a women's shelter outside of Calgary, Alberta, in a town called Strathmore. My best friend had recently passed away from an overdose, and I was homeless at the time, dealing with my own addiction issues. And I ended up writing a poem for him. And I'm not too sure where I heard slam from, but I ended up looking for it. And what started off as an original inquiry as to where can I see a slam has turned into this massive perspective of we are so connected, but so individual. And every poem is a different voice that reflects that.
I heard yellow was your favorite color. I can see it in your sunrises and the sunflowers and the stars and starry nights and the smiles of your laugh lines when you could smile, when you could laugh, when you could paint one. I heard it gave you hope. Hope when fits of mental illness left you ravaged, ragdoll, mauled by Dobermans, raised by wolves. The two inside of you constantly cannibalizing your self-worth must have felt like appropriated Jewish mourning, the way you sat in your sadness for so long. A pistol in your peripheral, a bullseye inside your brain. You grabbed alcoholic holy water, crucifix paintbrushes, performed exorcisms of yourself on canvas, seeking refuge from your mind in the sunflower fields. Nothing screamed. But sometimes the shadows eclipsed the sun. The sunflowers wilted. Your hands became crippled proxies and nothing helped. So to combat the mania you took to drinking lead poisoning, swallowing gulp after gulp of yellow paint, ingesting sunflowers and sunrises, collapsing on your bedroom floor in agony and triumph, realizing you had just put hope somewhere back inside you.
I've definitely had people relate and say, like, thank you for that perspective, or thank you for talking about this, because people don't talk about this. A lot of people, I think, are afraid to be honest about their deep and dark. And sometimes just hearing your deep and dark out loud coming from someone else is huge, and it's powerful because you're not alone. And at the very least, I want people to know that they're not alone when they hear me perform.
Loving my father has always felt a little bit like drowning. They say blood is thicker than water. I suppose this is why we drown faster with family. I was born into the aftermath of a hurricane, the consequence of a house too many miles below sea level. The years of neglect left it all boarded up windows and shattered remains. Most days were heavy silence. Tiptoeing over scattered glass from family portraits when I'm told used to be windows to the outside. Oh, fuck. Used to be windows to the outside. Wow, this is new for me. I'm gonna be honest. Fuck, man. I'm told used to be windows to the outside. Most days were heavy silence, tiptoeing over scattered glass from family portraits, and what I'm told used to be windows to the outside. Fuck. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm afraid. Obviously, I'm afraid because I dropped my poem, and that's not cool. I know that poem. I know it off by heart. And the truth is, this is just another thing I live with. But when I went into rehab, my dad stopped drinking. And, I mean, I got a couple weeks on him, but we're both coming up on 3 years, and that's really fucking beautiful for me. So I just want to thank you all. And I swear The next round will be a different thing, but as it turns out, it's still really fucking painful to live with this thing, and I guess I couldn't bring it back up. Thank you.
A lot of my poems, especially my older poems, tend to be rooted in the pain that I've experienced because I had a really painful youth, and I'm like 21, so that's still very fresh in my mind, right? Like it's still right there on the surface, but I've done a lot of growth too. Like I've moved on, and a lot of times pieces that I wrote in the past are incredibly painful, but I'm in a much better place now, but I still perform them because the point of writing them and the point of performing them was to help other people get an insight into their own pain and hopefully help heal people. And I think when you're in the business of healing, you are automatically in the business of reliving your own pain and sometimes your own trauma for the sake of the audience. And it sucks, yeah, but it's part of the job, I guess.
Sometimes poems just have to be spoken out loud. You just know it as soon as you write it. You're like, I'm gonna have to say this. And you walk around your house saying it. I don't know. Just, you feel it. You have to say it out loud. It's kind of like poems are spells in a way. It's like an abracadabra type thing, you know? Once you say it out loud, it's real, it's created, yeah.
Explaining my depression to my mother, a conversation. Mom, my depression is a shapeshifter. One day it is as small as a firefly in the palm of a bear. The next, it's the bear. On those days, I play dead until the bear leaves me alone. I call the bad days the dark days. Mom says try lighting candles. When I see a candle, I see the flesh of a church, the flicker of a flame, sparks of a memory younger than noon. I am standing beside her open casket. It is the moment I learn every person I ever come to know will someday die. Besides, Mom, I'm not afraid of the dark. Perhaps that's part of the problem. Mom says I thought the problem was that you can't get out of bed. I can't. Anxiety holds me a hostage inside of my house, inside of my head. Mom says, where did anxiety come from? Anxiety is the cousin visiting from out of town. Depression felt obligated to bring to the party. Mom, I am the party. Only I am a party I don't want to be at. Mom says, why don't you try going to actual parties? See your friends. Sure, I make plans, but I don't want to go. I make plans because I know I should want to go. I know sometimes I would have wanted to go. It's just not that much fun having fun when you don't want to have fun, Mom.
I think the poem came out of me really wanting to explain it to my mom in images that made sense for her, maybe. When I think about it, like, I don't remember being on stage doing that poem, really and truly. I had not put that whole poem in my body yet. That was the first time I had done it on stage, and so I was freaking out, like just freaking out. It shows, it definitely shows, but it perfectly illustrates what was happening. So I think that was a lot. It is a lot to have out in the world, even right now. But then I get a message from someone being like, I watched your poem today and I got out of bed and went to class. I'm like, oh, okay, that's why this poem exists. It's not about me, obviously.
As individual as we may feel, there's this commonality of wanting to heal, to feel less alone. And that's what I believe slam poetry addresses in one of its many glories.
And you don't have to have been a refugee brought up in the hood or a third world country. Everybody has a story to tell. Everybody has a struggle to share. You know, maybe you grew up upper class, but you happen to be like Black or Latino and you're conflicted about, like, address that. You know, don't pretend like you've been in the hood or like you've been to jail. Like, don't do that bullshit. Whatever you hear me saying on stage, there's a lived experience to it. So what slam poetry boils down to me is just really speaking from the heart and sharing your truths, and how are your truths being received.
I think slam poetry gave me an outlet that I didn't have. It just provided a space that was missing, which was really nice. Really nice. The thing about slam poetry that's cool is you don't have to do it to get something out of it. Like, I can just go some nights and not perform and just listen and feel really good at the end of the night. It kind of makes you a little bit high. Yeah, And it's nice to be able to have that space where if I feel like sharing, I could. If I don't want to, I can still leave feeling fulfilled. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's why I keep going back, because there's always something there.
No, and not even just my life, but I think it's helped change other people's lives too. And I don't mean that in like a corny, like that changed the audience's life. I don't know. I mean like people that I know, people that I work with, young people that I mentor. That's a really huge power that I see in slam poetry scene. And I know you hear about like giving voice to the voiceless or whatever, but this is different than that. This is really like people walking in their own light and in their own power and like transforming communities even, you know? Yeah.
I rise on the grind, knowing there's no rest for the people who are poor, so the righteous have to work more to outdo the wicked. It's drama everywhere that I go, building up youth who are gifted. My little homie's curfew was lifted, but his access to work is restricted. I've seen it transform a young woman afflicted by suicidal thoughts into a slam poet facing a standing ovation from thousands of youth. I've seen it give a young man the courage to address being sexually molested in a short story he wrote. Tears in our eyes as he read hope in his future invested through the words that he spoke. I've seen art give life to death, freedom to jails, peace to the violence, so I stay giving guidance to the babies for them to write through the pain, soak their papers up with tears and start all over again. I promise a better tomorrow. Everyone gets afflicted by sorrow, and you have the tools within you to overcome. You just need to silence those voices that cause you to tell me, but Spin, I'm not good at writing poems. Spin, I play sports, I don't write poems. Who sold you these lies? I watched many heavy burdens disappear, one step at a time, one line at a time, rhyme after rhyme. Freedom looks like a classroom full of children who were just told Black Lives Matter. Your voices matter. The isms are wrong, the phobias are wrong. Now write me a poem about your identity and your convictions. There are no rules to this except that you write from your heart. Take this pen, take this paper. This is how all great poets start.